welcome to Intoxicated Masculinity, where we talk about drinking culture, pop culture, politics, and anything else that comes up. Joining me today is Brandon.
Good evening.
And Kale has run away in terror. He's afraid of things that are scary, so he will not be joining us today, but he will be back next week.
It's too bad.
We'll talk to him about some horror sometimes. Kale's not much of a fan of horror movies, so I think he's probably happy to not really be in on this one, but
Probably true.
Let's talk about something scary. In this case, the something scary being American Horror Story. As people may or may not know, the new season just came out. The American Horror Stories, with an S, just finished up. And we just got the first 2 episodes of double feature, the first of which
Season
10, which is going to be, the first half is Red Tide, and the second half, I think, is Death Valley. I'll not 100% sure. It's water and sand is sort of the idea behind it. But so what we're going to do today is talk about our favorite seasons. How do we rank the seasons of American Horror Story? Brandon has not seen American Horror Stories with the S,
or season 10.
Or season 10. The season 10, I wouldn't really feel comfortable talking about ranking that yet. Anyway, we're only 2 episodes in. But I'll talk about Horror Stories very briefly before we get started, but then we're going to rank the other 9 seasons. Before that, I just want to list them off. First of all, we have Murder House season 1.
Wait. What are we drinking?
Brandon is prompting me. Yes. So Brandon, what is your cocktail for the evening?
I am trying what they call a bumbo. I found it on vacation. How do I put it? My sister-in-law's brother showed me an app called My Bar, and it lists all the things you have and then comes up with cocktails that you can do with the stuff you have. This one's called the Bumbo. It has 2 cubes of sugar, it has 2 ounces of white rum, an ounce of water, and cinnamon and nutmeg in it. I didn't have any nutmeg, but so far it's pretty sweet, but it's pretty good too.
Fair enough. And I was just watching a YouTube video the other day by a brilliant young YouTuber who apparently does cocktail videos, and he showed me how to do the Boulevardier. And I'll go ahead.
Did you say young?
Very young, virile, a man in his prime, you might say. And I picked it because, one, it's a great cocktail and I love the Boulevardier, and also it's blood red for horror, because blood, bread, and horror.
Blood horror.
All right.
Sound like white nationalists.
So we're going to talk about ranking the season. So I'm just going to list them off first, and then we'll both start to kind of go down our list. So season 1 is Murder House, the famous first season. It takes place at the murder house. If you haven't seen it, then you probably don't know what I'm talking about anyway. If you have seen it, then you know what the murder house is. Asylum, which is the one that takes place at the asylum. You know, when I think about it, they named these seasons very well because they are pretty self-explanatory as to what they are. Coven is the one with the witches, not surprisingly. Freakshow is the one at the Freakshow. Hotel is the one. Where did that one take place? Oh yeah, the hotel. Roanoke was, well, we'll talk about that one. That's the one that takes place in Roanoke, obviously. Cult is the one where they tried to get political. Apocalypse is the one that ties together some earlier seasons. In 1984 is the attempt at a slasher flick. So we will not stand on ceremony. I am going to first talk about what I would put as my number 10 in these 9 seasons, and that is American Horror Stories, which I just finished up. That season is, I mean, again, so it's not really ranked in the seasons because it's not an American Horror Story season, but it is really, really connected. Out of 7 episodes, 3 of the episodes take place in the murder house and do nothing but make the murder house less interesting. The episode that is the best is the one that I believe is called Ball, which is sort of a Rosemary's Baby kind of episode. That's okay. I didn't like any of the other episodes. I thought it was a waste of time and a waste of money, and I didn't like it. So we can move on to our number 9. So Brandon, what is your 9th favorite season of American Horror Story?
For me, it's the Apocalypse one.
We're gonna have controversy.
I wouldn't call it bad or anything. I have mostly forgotten it. I remember Frances Conroy a lot in that one, but that's because she's really I mean, she's always fun, but she's really kind of hamming it up in that one. Um, I don't
I
know.
think this is interesting. I think we're going to disagree on these, and it's going to be interesting why. Because
well, I don't. For me, the ranking, because it for me it has been longer since I saw them than Mike. So I'm going more on what season stuck with me, and I keep replaying parts in my head. Apocalypse. I remember there was some brown, and the witches came back, and they were like underground or something. I don't know. None of it really stuck with me.
So, and I'll talk more about Apocalypse, obviously a little bit higher on the list. Apocalypse is campy, which is the reason I love it. Don't worry, it's not going to be number one or anything, but I diff. I don't know. And Frances Conroy hamming it up, like I'm there for that. I'm totally.
She's always good. She does ham up well.
And we're not going to get into 10 because you haven't seen it yet. You will definitely like her in season 10. Her and Sarah Paulson both have very characters that you will like a lot, I think.
Evan Peters and Sarah Paulson are the only two actors in the whole show that have been in all the seasons. I looked it up out of curiosity. Peters was in 100 episodes and Sarah Paulson was in 95.
No, I don't think either one of them was in 1984.
According to the webpage I found, they said they were.
Evan Peters is definitely in Roanoke. I don't think he's in 1984 because I think that's when I think they were both gone for that because they both kind of hated it. And I think Sarah Paulson sort of famously hated or didn't like or had some negative things to say about Roanoke. But we'll talk more about Roanoke in a minute. My number 10 is The Basement with a Bullet, and that's 1984. I had such a hard time getting through that season. It's like they're trying to do a slasher flick and getting everything wrong about it. And so American Horror Stories does a similar thing, but 1984 does it throughout, which is they make ghosts to be completely the least scary things in the world. Ghosts are just people that hang out and have relationships. Like ghosts are basically just the real world house. And so it's just, and I don't, and this is another thing. I'm not a big fan of them bringing in the real life killers because it's the Night Stalker. The Night Stalker was a scumbag. He wasn't cool at all.
Yeah.
He was a smelly piece of shit.
It's actually my main problem with the hotel one too. I wish they'd cut all of that part out.
Yeah, and I didn't like that in Hotel either, but I think there's less of that than there is because 1984 he's in like the whole season. He's like throughout. And so that's one thing, but also like the ghost being made unscary. I mean, Rubber Man in Murder House is like a really scary character. There's nobody like that in 1984. I thought that was just a solid hot garbage season. Now, admittedly, so my bottom four, kind of spoiler alert, I could probably reorder because I really dislike most of those seasons. Although 1984 is pretty solidly last, but the next three I can kind of I could move around depending on my mood or whatever. But they're just. And plus it's I thought the writing was really weak. I didn't care about any of the characters. Again, they're all just so one note, dull characters. And they're relying on, putting a bunch of pastel colors and neon colors and people saying, "Hey dude, that's rad." And it's like, that's not what a slasher movie is supposed to feel like. I mean, you're not scared through any of it. It's almost like a parody of the show. Despise that season. Not that I have strong feelings or anything.
I generally agree. We'll talk about it when we get to the next on the list.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's this thing where people try so hard to make things feel like they are of a certain era, and all as it comes off is feeling like someone's trying to make something feel of that era. Like in the action movie genre, for example, you have the Unwatchables. What the fuck is the name of the movie? The Stallone movies. The Unacceptables. The
Expendables.
That's the one. And it's like they're trying to make these things feel like 1980s movies, and they
didn't
don't
at all.
They don't feel anything remotely. And then you watch something like Dread, which is sort of not really trying to feel like that, and that feels like it could have come out the same weekend as RoboCop. And that's 1984 is just such an offender on that. It's such an offensive. It's so offensively mediocre and just badly written, badly shot, and way too much Night Stalker. But
on a side note, my first experience with Sarah Paulson was in Deadwood, and I liked her a lot there. And she can do serious. Like a lot of the stuff she's done recently is pretty campy. And I think she enjoys that the most, but she can do pretty dead serious.
Who did she play in Deadwood?
She was a teacher for the little girl that was adopted by the rich woman.
Oh, okay.
And I'm blanking on names, but
by the way,
Mr.
crazy
Rittenhouse,
Deadwood parallel in the new season of American Horror Story. Robin Wiegert plays a prominent role.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
If you ever want to see some fine acting, watch her in Deadwood.
She's also good on Sons of Anarchy, although obviously a much smaller part. We could do a whole episode on Sons of Anarchy and how that show kind of progressed. Anyway, so what is your number 8?
Well, it's 1984.
Yeah, it has to. I was going to say it's got to be like either the last one or the second to last one.
Yeah, no, it is pretty bad. Again, don't really remember anything about it too much. If I had to pay one compliment to it, I did like its I don't know what you call it, movie poster, the thumbnail. I liked the color scheme of it. It was very vibrant and bright, and it actually made me want to watch it before I got to it.
And then you got 5 minutes into it and you're like, oh, this is bad. This is going to be real bad, isn't it?
You probably shouldn't blow your entire budget on a thumbnail.
I will agree that the thumbnail is definitely the best part of that season. I don't know. Can you remember a single character out of there? Because
I can't even remember a single death out of there.
Yeah, I can't
There's
really
like
either.
There's like a pier or something, but I could be just confusing it with actual 80s slashers.
Yeah, no, it's real bad. It brought back the guy. I like the actor, the one who played the clown in Freakshow.
Yeah.
And he's good.
Which apparently a lot of real life clowns hate that guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Apparently he didn't do anything for Clown's image.
Well, you're a clown. You're gonna have to put up with some, uphill walks. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I don't have anything else to say on it. I kind of said all I was gonna say, but
yeah, it's not good. It's not good. I mean, if you're a completionist, I suppose you have to wade through it, but you could just skip it and be happy.
I don't remember much in the way of connections to the rest of to sort of the larger universe either. I think they must have been a couple here and there, but I guess Night Stalker obviously is a connection, but so my number 8 is Roanoke. I didn't like that a lot. And again, like I said, so this one and the next two on my list, get in a different mood, I could probably reorder these a little bit. I put Roanoke at the bottom because it's kind of boring for a lot of it. I thought the idea, they did that whole idea where halfway through the season.
Real quick, my number 7 is Roanoke too, so I might as well just.
Okay, cool. They do the thing where they switch halfway through. And I don't know if I was the only one. I'm a big slasher movie fan. And honestly, sometimes it's weird. I feel like American Horror Story is trying to make horror for people that don't like horror. And so it's like they'll pull things from other horror movies and be like, well, these people don't really watch horror, so they won't catch it. But the second half of Roanoke is basically just Halloween Resurrection, otherwise known as Halloween, the one with Busta Rhymes. Because the whole point, the whole premise of that movie is they have a reality show in Michael Myers' house, and they set up cameras everywhere, and they set up scares for the people that are in there. And you sort of have the people that were in the documentary versus the real people, and it didn't work for me. I thought it was very, very dull through a lot of it. It felt like, the main antagonist of the film is sort of Kathy Bates's character, or Kathy Bates's character in the documentary and not in the real world. And it's just like, it didn't work. Like it was not working from the beginning. And then when they did the switch over in the middle, it worked even less for me then. And they brought back the pig man, which I think first came in Murder House, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And it just, I don't know. It's like the psycho redneck people and the ghosts. And
I
don't know.
did
What do
think
you think?
Kathy Bates did a good job. Maybe we disagree on that, but I thought acting
No,
wise,
I could grant. I mean, Kathy Bates is a great actress. Of course, she did a good job, but
I think she was the closest to being legitimately scary, because she's not trying to be scary in a whole lot of the others.
yeah.
Not in she's not the horror part of a lot of the others, but I thought she was. And that's the one, this one sticks in my memory a little bit more because it's also the one that Andrea couldn't finish. So
I thought it was bad. It's yeah.
It's not good, but
and I think that's the last Kathy Bates one, isn't it?
well,
I think.
yeah,
That's season. What season is that? I gotta look again at my little thing. I watched them all together.
she was in the Coven
Oh,
season,
never mind.
but I
No,
don't
she
think
was in Apocalypse. She was in Apocalypse.
Oh,
So
she
yeah,
was?
that wouldn't be
Okay.
her last one. Yeah, I don't know. It felt like, let's kind of do Murder House, except let's do Murder House in the country. And it just, I don't know. Again, just not a whole lot of not working.
I found out in Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 4, there's an episode called Fear Itself, and that house is the Alpha Delta frat house in that episode.
So many things come back again. Yeah, I don't know. Were there any characters in that season that you remember? Because I thought that's probably the most muted Evan Peters that we've got,
Yeah,
maybe in the whole series.
yeah, it was. No, for me, the breakout performance, as far as that goes, that whole season goes, is just Kathy Bates.
Yeah.
She was good. I think she could put that out. I mean, if she didn't already have an extensive resume already, she could have put that out as like, here's some of my work, and probably get cast in other horror films pretty easily.
Something tells me Kathy Bates doesn't have to work too hard to get cast in other roles, though.
No, she doesn't have to worry about that.
It's so weird that, like, you sort of remember her from Misery, I think is the one that at least people from our generation kind of remember. And wow, she was good in that movie.
I wonder if it's different by I don't know, by sex, maybe. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if most women remember Fried Green Tomatoes from around that same era, but
Well, I'll bring up a weird one that I remember, since we're having the Kathy Bates Appreciation Society, which really there should be because she's great. There's a movie called Late Night Wars, and it's about the sort of fight between Jay Leno and David Letterman to get the Tonight Show. And Kathy Bates, oddly enough, plays the agent for Jay Leno, who turns out to basically be like a psychopath. And he ends up firing because, well, they get, I don't know the reality of all this. It's just in the movie. And so she was playing crazy person there too, and she was doing a good job of it.
Well, an American Horror Story, for all that, gives her a chance to really explore different characters, maybe more than anybody else, because her character in Coven is wholly different than her character in Freakshow, which is wholly different than Roanoke, Hotel.
Well, I mean, probably the black eye there. And again, I like Apocalypse. You already talked about it, but her character in Apocalypse is terrible. It's absolutely ludicrous. Yeah, I can't understand how they saddled Kathy Bates with that dumb character. She's got like a machine gun hand or something. And you're like, what the fuck am I watching?
Right.
And I like that season. But that is ridiculous. I don't know how they gave Kathy Bates that. It's like, you got a machine gun hand in this season. And she's like, what? Why do I have a machine gun hand?
Did you already pay me? Damn it.
Unfortunately, you've already signed, so you pretty much have to do this. All right. So that was your number 7.
Yes.
So my number 7 is Cult. Um, this is one of the ones where I feel like I give points for, and maybe this is the only reason why it's above Roanoke. Like, I think they had the germ of a good idea. I think trying to get, like, I mean, we on here, we talk politics all the time. And I don't have anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with talking politics, but you have to be interesting and you have to have good writing. And this season wasn't interesting and didn't have good writing.
Well, again, we're simpatico here. My number 6 is Cult. I thought Evan Peters was pretty good. The twist was not difficult to see coming. I thought
What was
Sarah
the twist?
Paulson,
I can't even think what the twist was.
her wife is part of the cult.
Oh yeah.
I mean, nothing difficult to see. I thought
It was so
Peters
little of a
pretty
twist.
good.
I literally didn't remember that it was a twist.
And I think Sarah Paulson legitimately showed some acting chops when she was afraid in the house by herself. I think she conveyed that fairly well.
Yeah, no.
Again,
Sarah Paulson's great. You are definitely going to like her character. Like I said, when you start season 10, I really think that like Sarah Paulson and Frances Conroy are going to be two that you're gonna like really like.
I'm sure. I like both of them anyway.
And
But
actually,
American Horror Story doesn't give her a whole lot of chance to show off. I mean, she plays some campy characters, and honestly, even the Ratchet series on Netflix, it's very brightly. I mean, it could have been made by the same people who did American Horror Story. It's very brightly colored, very camp. But
yeah, that's
I
one.
was glad.
It's been recommended to me a million times, and I am a huge One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest fan. So I will get to it. I just haven't gotten to it yet, and everybody says it's really good.
And I think she was maybe the star of Cult. She had some moments where she looked legitimately terrified, and you could almost imagine her in real life. I don't know, maybe she's a conservative, but you could almost imagine in real life, her being afraid of this thing happening to her.
Yeah, it just didn't do a lot. It like
No,
I feel like it's one of those few seasons, because like some seasons, like Apocalypse, for example, which I'll talk about more later on, but just to kind of contrast. I know you don't like it, but you can't say nothing happened in Apocalypse. I mean,
no.
there was a lot of shit going on, and if you didn't like it, that's a totally fair assessment. But you can't say Apocalypse was boring. Cult was kind of boring. I feel like there'll be like maybe one or two little realizations per episode, and you're just kind of like, I don't really care about this. Like, it seems like it's written to like make me desperately care about this on a political level, but I kind of just like feel like everybody's an asshole. And I did not like, and again, it's sort of, this is a theme we'll get back to again in a future season we talk about. I don't like them bringing in real life killers and sort of humanizing them. They did an episode about them going to kill Sharon Tate. I don't want to fucking see people going in to kill Sharon Tate, because that really happened.
And there's got to be people
Sharon
alive
Tate. They killed her
who are
baby.
still related to a lot of those victims.
Yeah, I don't have, and like Jim Jones. Yeah, Jim Jones was a fucking scumbag who killed a whole bunch of people, including a U.S. representative or senator. I can't remember which. I don't want those people humanized.
It's my biggest downside for a hotel.
We'll talk about that definitely. But overall, like, that's not even my biggest complaint about Cult. It's just like, it was just kind of like, it was like they were trying to get into a realm they weren't ready to get into. Because I think there is a great space to make a horror movie sort of in the American political realm, because American politics is fucking horrifying now. So there's definitely a place to make that, but I feel like Brian Murphy just isn't the person to make that. I don't think he's I don't know, maybe not savvy enough, just not a good enough writer. I don't know what it is, but like, it didn't come off.
Yeah, I would agree.
And so I keep getting to announce. So this is my next one is the last one of the seasons that I consider to be basically just bad, that I don't have really much of anything good to say about it. And it's going to be kind of, oddly enough, some of the same complaints that I had about the last two seasons that we talked about, and that is Freakshow. Is that your number? Or
No,
do we have a little bit of separation?
no, Freak Show's higher for me.
Okay. Freak Show is, I think, dull, and I think the characters aren't treated particularly well. I think it has probably the worst season ending of any of the seasons, maybe even worse than 1984, as far as being disrespectful to the characters and disrespectful to the subject matter. I don't like, I think, really any of the characters. I mean, Evan Peters' character is kind of supposed to be the likable one, although he's kind of shitty too. And I don't know.
Kathy Bates is like as the bearded woman. I thought
Yeah,
she was
but she gets
good.
fucked. She gets completely fucked by everybody.
Yeah.
And no, I really, really dislike that series a lot. I thought it's the worst Sarah Paulson character throughout the whole series, or throughout the whole series.
Yeah, I mean, she spent a lot of time, like 15 hours every time she was on, through CGI and puppet effects and makeup and just trying to do the two-headed thing.
We haven't mentioned her yet, although she wasn't Roanoke, but this is where we get Angela Bassett.
Yeah.
That's maybe the best thing I could say about this. Well, and I'm sorry, I gotta think.
Well, she was in Coven.
No, I'm saying we haven't talked about her yet on our list.
Oh.
We'll talk about Coven, but that's going to be a while for me.
But no, I'll have to give my take on Freak Show later, I guess. But
I mean, bringing in Angela Bassett was good. Frances Conroy plays the mother, right?
Does
of
she?
like the rich kid.
I remember her being in there.
Doesn't she play the mother of the rich kid? Hold on, I'm gonna have to look this up.
Oh yeah. She does.
And so she's good because she's good. She's really fun. Like, she's just a really fun actress who can do weird things, and you're like,
I thought the guy playing the rich kid was good too.
Yes. And I think that's his first season, isn't it?
Yes, as far as I recall. Again, it's been longer for me, but as far as I remember, that was his first.
Finn Wittrock. Yeah, that's his first season. He's good. But I despise the ending so much.
I thought Michael Chiklis was pretty good too.
I was a little hot and cold on him. Now, is Dennis O'Hare in this season? I was trying to think what his last season was.
Yeah. Isn't he a singer?
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah. He's the one who's trying to kill. Of course, he's like an important character. He's the one who's trying to kill off all the freaks to sell them off to the museum.
Yeah.
He's with what's her name? There's going to be a lot of what's her names and who is that? And I apologize, but
he was third, by the way. He's been in 64 episodes,
and he's great. We'll definitely talk about him in Hotel, because he is of note. I was thinking of, well, her name's not coming up right now, of course, because Emma Roberts. He was Emma Roberts in that one. Emma Roberts, I think, is kind of a controversial figure in American Horror Story. I think some people like her, and I don't know. I think there's some behind the scenes stuff that, honestly, like, I don't really want to look a lot of that stuff up because it's not my business, and I don't want to talk about who's cheating on who with who and who broke up the band and all this other shit. And I think there's some of that with American Horror Story, unfortunately. Anyway, that being said, so that was my number 6. So what is your number 6?
Didn't I already talk about 6? Oh, 6 was Cold. Didn't I say that when we were talking about it?
Oh, right. Yeah, sorry, we got off because my number 7 was Cold. So yeah. So what is your number 5? I'm sorry.
My number 5 is Coven.
Really? Oh, we are gonna fight.
I legitimately liked Coven. I thought it was good. I thought there's that moment where Kathy Bates is watching all the videos of all the history and Black struggle and all this, and you think she's going to change her mind, and she doesn't. Angela Bassett's
I think that's
really
hilarious. Like, I thought she was a riot in that. It's just like a an absolutely unredeemably horrible person.
Right, in every way. The oh god, what's her name? Lily Raby, the hippie witch.
Swamp
I
Witch.
thought she was really, really good. For me to say that it's number 5 is just more a testament of how much I like the remaining seasons. I thought Coven was good. I don't have any too much complaints about it, except I don't know. It seemed like they wanted it to be a bigger deal, and obviously they did because they brought him back for Apocalypse. But I don't know that they cemented it as a bigger deal. Like at the end, they get all the new girls and all that, but it seems very disassociated from the other stuff we had already seen. Now, of course, it's only season 3, but it seemed like, down there in New Orleans, it's way away from everything else, and you don't, at least as I recall it in season 3, you don't really get this connection to the bigger AHS universe. But
we'll talk more about Coven, but it'll be a while.
Okay.
My number 5 is Apocalypse, which honestly I wanted to put it higher, but I felt like some of the other seasons I felt bad about down ranking the other seasons. I loved Apocalypse because it's bananas and dumb, but it's dumb in a really fun way. You've got Kathy Bates with a machine gun hand, as we previously stated. It's just like it has these huge tonal shifts where shit just fucking goes over here and then it goes over here. I had a blast. I thought it was great. And again, you sort of have to buy into the camp. And if you have not bought into the camp, you will not like that season. But I 100% bought into the camp. I thought it was just a ton of fun. Because I love, well, again, we'll talk more about Coven, but I love Coven. I love the characters in Coven. And I thought, there's so many shows that will make some courageous decision and then try to find some sneaky way to backtrack out of it, so the killing of the one character in Hotel who was in Coven, whose name I can't remember. The witch, she went to the hotel and get killed in the hotel.
Yeah.
Of course, names always fail me.
That the
Queenie.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. They were just like, yeah, we're just going to bring her back to life. And it's like, not even like, fuck trying to come up with some long roundabout explanations. Like, well, we got somebody that just brings people back to life. So now she's back to life. So
Marvel-esque reason why
they're
suddenly back there.
Fucking deal with it. There's actually, and I know you're not watching it, but in Star Trek Lower Decks, which is a great show. And I'm a huge Star Trek fan. They do last season, one of the bridge officers was killed saving one of the main characters, and the main characters are all these lower deck people who are just like doing mundane stuff. And this season that guy just came back and there was no explanation to it, and there was this whole thing in the show of people like, oh, don't talk to him about it. Like, people come back from the dead all the time, but you can't ask him about it because it's like, and there's a scene where the guy describes coming back from the dead and it fades to black. And he's just describing all these horrible things like, when you die, this happens. And then there's a dark mountain and you have to climb, and you just see the eyes of this guy just like turn white. And I just like the idea of somebody like, they're just back alive because magic. And that's what I kind of loved about Apocalypse. They're just like, yeah, we're just going to do that now. And do it because it's American Horror Story. It's not high fiction. We're not doing fucking William Shakespeare here. It's fun, campy stuff, and I loved it. I'm here for it. And to be honest, I think I probably should have rated this higher, given how much more fun I had with it than. Did
Asylum bring back Stevie Nicks? No,
you mean Apocalypse?
Yes. Sorry, Apocalypse.
Yes, it did. Yeah, she came back for one episode. I'm like 99% sure.
I thought so too.
I don't know. It's dumb fun. I'm not gonna say I don't know if it's better. Better is a kind of a weird thing, but I definitely had more fun with it than I did any of the, I mean, it put Apocalypse up against slogging through fucking Freakshow or Cult again. Oh my God. At least there's bananas. Again, Kathy Bates with a machine gun hand. Fucking Eddie, what's his name? The remember the boyfriend at the beginning who gets left out in the apocalypse and walks all the way through the apocalypse. Billy Eichner, that's the actor's name, and like
Yeah.
I'll take Billy Eichner walking through the apocalypse and Kathy Bates with a machine gun hand over fucking whatever they were doing in Roanoke any day of the week. Anyway, enough of my gushing about the season that I placed fifth.
Yeah.
So that is my number 5. What is your number 4?
For me, number 4 is Freakshow. It's one of those things where, like, again, for me, looking back, one of the things I remember so clearly is Jessica Lange singing that same song over and over. And the scene where she loses her legs, I keep coming back to that the most when I think about it. Plus, I really like Carnival, so I kind of like that feel. I thought Michael Chiklis was pretty good as the abusive husband. I was pretty legitimately outraged when he murdered the little person.
I can't think of her name. I can't think of the character's name, but I know you're talking about.
Yeah. I thought Evan Peters was pretty decent in it. The giant strong woman I thought was pretty good. She really lays the smack down on Michael Chiklis.
Yeah, that was a good scene.
Yeah. I
It was
don't know.
sort
I
of
think
funny to have her be like him trying to muscle it, and she's like, "Nah, bitch."
Yeah, she just puts him down. I thought, because there's such an outsider feel, like you can feel the town turning on him easily, like that. Like no matter how much smiles they put on somebody's face or how many times they, did the secret thing that they really want him to do and all that, they're going to be to blame. They're going to be the outsider, the freak that everybody can point to, and you don't even have to bother with actual justice on. Jessica Lange seems like such a tragic figure in that one too. She had all these dreams and things she wanted to do, and the truth is she's just not that good. Like even like her,
Well, she's a bad person.
Yeah,
she's a really bad person.
She is, but she's not even like a great performer. Like the song is kind of haunting, but it's more haunting because it seems like it's the only thing she ever really perfected. And I don't know, a lot about that season really sticks with me.
I will say some good things about it. It's the first one where we got Wes Bentley. It's Wes Bentley's first one, and it is we already said Angela Bassett's first season, and it was somebody else too.
But I thought Angela Bassett was in Coven.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, for some reason I always get Freakshow and Asylum confused as far as where they fall in the timeline. And for some reason, I oftentimes think that Freakshow is season 2, not season 4. So yeah,
no.
Right.
Well, in this regard, it's both season 4 and my number 4. But
Ma Petite, that was the one that.
Yeah.
It was also Matt Bomer's first episode, who would later be a very big part of Hotel, and who also is in American Horror Stories, playing a remarkably uninteresting character. He's basically playing Zachary Quinto's character from the first season.
Okay.
Just weird. Like, I don't know. I can't get over enough, or I can't put across enough how just weird American Horror Stories is.
It is. Stories.
Yeah, the story, because it's just like they just did some shit, and they were like, "We just did some shit. Watch it." And I'm like, "That's weird." And they're like, whatever. We don't fucking care. Which I'll tell you, going from, and I'm not going to talk too much about season 10 because Brandon hasn't seen it yet, but going from The Low, which is honestly, I think the last episode of American Horror Stories is one of the worst episodes ever of this. And again, Stories is not the same thing as Stories, so it's kind of different, but it is abysmal. It doesn't make any sense. It is gobbledygook. I mean, you watch it and you literally question if the person writing this, and it's weird because it's written by the showrunners. You watch that episode and you're like, this is this is just hot garbage. But yeah, but Matt Bomer's great. It's nothing against Matt Bomer. Matt Bomer is great in Doom Patrol, which is another show that has nothing to do with American Horror Stories, but you should watch because Doom Patrol is fucking fantastic. It is like one of my favorite shows right now, and it's coming back. It's coming back, I think, towards the end of next month for season 3, and I will be there. Anyway, so we've talked a lot about that. So that was your number 5, right?
That was my number 4.
Your number 4. That's right. Okay, so my number 4.
Quick trivia. I found out also, I found a few things. So I just wanted to sprinkle them in. The opening credits for American Horror Story is done by a man named Kyle Cooper, who also did The Walking Dead.
Oh, The Walking Dead. Oh, I could do a show about that, except just
he did the opening credits for Walking Dead, nothing else.
No, it's nothing against him. I'm sure he's a very talented person. I support him entirely. Unless he's racist, which do we know he's not racist? Maybe
no, we don't know that.
Just saying, could be. He's probably not. Don't go. I'm sure he's a perfectly lovely person. Except the only problem with The Walking Dead is my ranking would be season 1 is the best, and then every other season is the worst. Which I don't know how all the seasons can be the worst, but somehow
it's an achievement.
It is. That show is fucking incredible in certain ways. How they have managed to go that far without having anything interesting happen is really pretty incredible.
For a superior zombie series, try We're Alive, the podcast.
Or nothing. Just literally put your headphones in and just listen to nothing, and it will be better than The Walking Dead. And just like tap them every so often really hard so it kind of hurts your ears a little bit. That will be better than The Walking Dead, which I inexplicably still watch sometimes just out of morbid curiosity. But anyway, we're not going to go on that. So my number 4 may be controversial because I think a lot of people have this higher than I do. And it's Murder House. It's first season. So we're into what I would call the good seasons now. So none of the seasons going forward, I think, are bad. Murder House is good. I like all the characters. I love Dylan McDillan, as I've heard him called before. I like Connie Britton. I like the series, the season. It's good. It's the season where it's scary. I think
it's almost like they didn't know what way they were gonna go. Like they were trying to make a legitimately scary horror movie style thing. I think it's season 1.
Right.
It was before the camp really took over.
Yeah. And I think they did well with that. And Asylum, which we'll talk about again, probably coming up, is the other one. And then once you get into is Coven the third? Yeah, Coven's the third season. So Coven's the one that sort of brings the camp. And then all the other seasons kind of are some, keeping in balance camp and scariness. And Murder House set, and the Murder House is scary. Like it's a scary looking house. I think one of the problems that I have with Murder House is that I now kind of associate the times they've gone back to Murder House and sort of lessened it. Again, American Horror Stories being sort of the guiltiest of these, where it's like, it's almost like they wrote 3 episodes of that season or that series just to make Murder House less interesting. And I think that's a shame because I think it's good. I think Evan Peters is an interesting character, although giving him a redemption arc is kind of weird because he's a mass murderer of children.
Yeah, they didn't really have to do that.
Maybe he doesn't get redeemed. And I mean, he's also a rapist. I mean, he's a rapist and a mass murderer.
Dennis O'Hare was really good in that one.
Dennis O'Hare is very good in that one. Yeah.
Jessica Lange, I think, is also very good. And somebody we haven't talked about, I don't know her name, the woman that played Jessica Lange's daughter.
I'll find
she's also in Coven.
Yeah, she's in Coven, and she's pops up
really good too.
She pops up for about 5 seconds in American Horror Stories, and I just hope she took a shower afterwards because just wash the stink of American Horror Stories off. I'll find
while you're looking it up. Another trivia point: The murdered cheerleader in Murder House was played by the same woman who played Evan Peters' girlfriend on One Tree Hill.
Fair enough. Jamie Brewer.
Yeah, she was good.
And she's also in Coven.
Yes, she is. And she's a lot of fun in Coven.
All right. That's about all I've said. I don't know. I think that maybe that's the problem I have with Murder House, is that I enjoyed it, but I just don't have a lot to say about it, I guess. It's good. All the actors are good. I think it's paced pretty well. I think Jessica Lange's great in it. We haven't talked enough about Jessica Lange.
Yes.
This is maybe her best character, do you think?
No, but it might be close.
I mean, for me, it's between two. It's either, I mean, for me, definitely not Freakshow. I didn't like her character in Freakshow a lot. I think she's good. She's a good actress in it. I don't love the character. It's an interesting character, but I don't. It's just, it doesn't strike me, I guess. So it's this one or one other one. Yeah, it's good. It's good. You should watch it if you haven't seen it. But if you haven't seen it, why are you watching this? Like,
Right.
Seems like a strange thing to watch, like an hour-long show about a show you've never seen, and you're now getting spoiled on everything. Like, I don't know. You should probably seek counseling. It's like, that's a strange thing to do.
Yeah, go get some help.
Come on,
freak.
show.
Anyway.
Call back. All right. So what is your number 3?
I think my number 3 is Asylum. I think it's probably Jessica Lange's best.
Yeah, earlier I sort of had said I was trying to decide which my favorite Jessica Lange's character, which I don't know what fucking words are. I swear to God. I was trying to decide which one of Jessica Lange's characters was my favorite. And I was sort of thinking between Murder House and Coven, and I kind of forgot Asylum, but you are right. Asylum is definitely her best character.
She gets to play somebody fairly serious, and I think she does really well.
And she
Sarah
goes
Paulson's
places.
good.
She goes places throughout the whole series.
Yeah,
or throughout the season.
She has an arc.
Yeah, very much so.
Evan Peters is good. Zachary Quinto's good. The guy playing the doctor, who was that? That's another famous, isn't it? Isn't it the tall guy, James?
Yeah, I just had him up. By the way, he's very liberal. He's been arrested multiple times for protesting like things. Like he's
scared to arrest him.
He's very tall. Keep talking about it. I'll tell you his name.
Anyway,
it's like right on the tip of my tongue.
The only reason I downvote Asylum to 3 is the near constant misogyny. I mean, everything is abuse of women, trapping them in places, keeping them in places. It's just wall-to-wall awful misogyny almost every episode, to the point where it gets distracting and tiresome. And by the end, I was, as much as I liked every other aspect of season 2 of Asylum, I was glad when it was finally done and close to deciding to not continue watching American Horror Story.
James Cromwell.
That's it.
He's got a great name too. He's Cromwell.
Yeah, he sounds very like a British aristocrat. But no, that was my main complaint. It's why it's all the way down at number 3. Because everything else about it is good. Again, Lily Rabe is good. The whole story is compelling and moving, and you end up cheering for very definite underdogs. But man, I wish they could have told it in a slightly different way, or at least halved the misogyny or something.
I mean, obviously, we haven't gotten to my pick on Asylum, although we're pretty close, obviously, because we don't have too many left to go. I thought it's probably Sarah Paulson's best character.
She's really good in it too.
I think it's got, of course, Brandon, I think maybe loves this one most because of Ian McShane playing a killer Santa Claus.
Yeah.
By the way, in American Horror Stories, this feels like a Mad Lib, but you have Danny Trejo playing a killer Santa Claus who's killing YouTubers, which literally feels like they wrote an American Horror Story episode by filling in a Mad Lib. It's like name of a famous person, name of a childhood icon, name of people don't like. It's like Danny Trejo as Santa Claus kills YouTubers, which we don't hate YouTubers. YouTubers are great. We love them all, especially ourselves.
And Ian McShane, of course, is just always good. But
And he was good in that. Like he seemed like almost like a joyful like murderer. Just like it's like I can't wait to go murder some people today.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do today, Tom? I thought I'd go murder some people.
But that's the thing. I've never seen Ian McShane play something he wasn't meant for. Like that one episode in Game of Thrones, he steals the entire first half of that.
Before the dark times and like see the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, of course, all of Deadwood. He's carrying that show. I mean, that's wrong to say. There are many fine actors who are doing awesome in Deadwood, but Ian McShane's the one you remember the most.
Did you watch American Gods?
No, I didn't.
I still haven't either. It's interesting. The reviews I get say that the first season is really good, and then it just basically falls off a cliff. So I don't know. Yeah, that episode of Game of Thrones was a good one with Ian McShane.
Yeah.
So my number 3, and again, like we're to the point now where these are all good. Like I think we're again for me, basically 5 and up are all good seasons. Is Hotel. I thought Hotel was great. You'll find that I have a tendency to buy into the camp. And I mean, Hotel is definitely the second or third most campy season. Lady Gaga comes on to play Lady Gaga. It's one of my favorite Evan Peters characters because it's like he's just a joyful murderer. He's just like he just can't wait to get him some murder, just like and maybe some torture too. Just like just want to torture and murder a whole bunch of people.
I loved everything about Hotel.
Yeah,
I thought Lady Gaga was really good. I think it's my favorite Kathy Bates part in the entire series.
That's fair. That's fair.
I think it's maybe my favorite Dennis O'Hare part in the entire series too.
Yeah, Dennis. So we talked about that earlier. Dennis O'Hare is fantastic. I mean, everybody's really good in this. Like Wes Bentley, who I'm not a huge fan of Wes Bentley, but he's good in it.
Yeah. The rich kid. You just said his name not long ago. The one, the rich kid from Freakshow.
Finn Whitrock.
Yeah, he was good too. I mean,
no, hold on, we're getting confused because Finn Whitrock is the one playing the one that turns Lady Gaga into vampire.
Yes.
The rich guy is the other guy whose name, of course, is
no. He was the rich kid in Freakshow.
Right. Yeah. But there's the other guy who plays the one who owns the building and ends up having sex with Lady Gaga.
Yeah. Okay.
He was good. He's been in a few other things. Wasn't super notable in this one, but good. Sarah Paulson, really good character. It's if her best character wasn't Asylum, it was the hotel character.
Yeah.
Because like I love Coven, which we'll talk about again in a little bit, but her character in Coven is a little thin. It's definitely not her shining moment, I don't think.
I think she's really good in Coven. I think she doesn't
have a ton to do.
They restrain her a lot.
Yeah, there's just not a ton for her to do. And this one, she really gets to kind of go all in.
Yeah.
Matt Bomer's really good in this one. Angela Bassett doesn't have a ton to do, but what she does have to do is pretty good.
My tick is, like we were saying earlier, we could have done away with the entire part of the serial killers and just.
Yeah, I didn't love that.
Would have been better.
I mean, we can make up killers. We don't have to glorify assholes who actually killed
Right.
people. I mean, it's one of the things that I think people have a hard time understanding about horror movie fans. And I've known a lot of horror movie fans. We don't like actual murders. Actual murders are horrible, and we don't want anything to do with those. We are watching television shows or movies that are talking about these things in a fictional sense. I don't have any interest in real murders. These people were all
Right.
scumbags, And if they're not in prison or dead, they should be probably one of those things.
And I would be fine with either one.
Yeah. But the characters, I like really all the characters. Yeah, Dennis O'Hare and Evan Peters and Sarah Paulson are probably the three standouts for me.
I think Kathy Bates and Dennis O'Hare have real chemistry together. And I think they're almost this entire other thing in that season. They're this entire sideline of like just grief and depression and worry about, you know, the sadness of what could have been and just cannot be. I don't know. They're both so good in it. And I think Lady Gaga is too. I mean, she might be for someone who wore an all meat suit, I think she might be the least hammy you could ask for in American Horror
She keeps it reasonably understated, I think.
Yeah.
The one I was going to mention, it's the woman who, and she's in Asylum too, Mare Winningham. So she's the one that plays sort of the maid. And I think she's a really fun little character who doesn't get a ton of screen time, but she's just really interesting. She's the one that always cleans up after Evan Peters' character.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And she's just she just wants to clean some sheets and watch some murders, like some murders and clean sheets. And she's just, it's a good day. No big plans. No, just like kind of like, what are you going to do today? Watch some murders, clean the sheets afterwards.
Do you think there's any chance they asked Tim Roth to be a bellhop in that one?
It would be interesting.
That would be fun.
That's the one where they were bringing in Chloe Sevigny.
However you butcher that.
I can't pronounce names. I thought she was good in that one. It's just all around. It's a good series. Or it's a good season. And it's hammy. It's super hammy, which is what I loved about it. I mean, this one, by the way, as far as, you know, we've sort of this string about them bringing in real serial killers, and I don't like that. I feel like this one is the one that bothered me the least because it was done in such a hammy way.
Yeah.
Where these characters couldn't be taken seriously as the actual killers because there's such a sort of a parody of them.
Well, and it's such a memorable episode or season in every other regard that it wasn't enough to bring it down. And, you know, I don't know if it's maybe just because victims wouldn't be alive anymore, but the hotel is based off H.H. Holmes Hotel in Chicago that he essentially just made to murder people in.
Right.
But they don't really bring him up. It's just a thing that's close to what he did. And those people are all gone. I'm all right with that as kind of a referencing starting point for an entire season.
Like a takeoff point.
Yeah.
All right. So that was your number 2.
No, that was yours.
Oh, duh, of course. So what is your number 2?
My number 2 is Murder House. All around very good. I liked it a lot. I think I thought Jessica Lange was amazing in that one. Easily her well, I mean, she was good in Coming too, but probably my pick for her number 2. And you keep waiting for her to pop off. And I can't say I was ultimately very familiar with Jessica Lange prior to sitting down to watch season 1 of American Horror Story. And even I, without a whole lot of familiarity of her as an actress, was like, she's conveying this creepiness really well. The whole thing is pretty good. They do end up making the ghosts a little too sympathetic. And yeah, I had a big problem with them trying to give a redemption arc to Evan Peters, who is a reprehensible person in that show.
I hate Evan Peters too.
Yeah. No, I don't. I mean, in that show, his character.
I know.
No, it was pretty good. And I kept wondering, like, how far can a TV show go? You know, because I kept thinking that one really conveys like horror movie feel. You know, by the time you get into like cult or apocalypse, you know, you might see some blood splatter or something, but because I'm not a torture porn gore fan, I don't mind scary stuff, but I have no interest in watching like Saw or something. That's not me. By the end of those seasons, you kind of know you're not going to see any of that kind of stuff, but the first one maintains that possibility and that tension. Murder House is pretty good.
Well, I'll tell you, the new season really does, like, I think they're dipping maybe more into getting a little bloodier. And the new season does show some blood. Fair amount of blood, actually. Yeah, Murder House I like a lot. I guess the reason I didn't rank it higher is I just didn't have as much things of note about it that sort of stuck out to me. But it's really solid. It's horror, which leading into my number 2 that we already talked about. It's something that American Horror Story tries to do kind of infrequently, to just be horror, like straight up horror.
Yeah.
They tried it in American Horror Stories. Again, I hate to keep bringing up something that Brandon hasn't seen, but I think they tried it a few times in American Horror Stories and it really didn't work at all for them. But American Horror Story, the first season really does work. I mean, Dermot McDermott is good in it. And I think maybe in my head is watching it in Apocalypse, which I like that season, but it definitely does campify. I mean, it's just weird to bring together Coven and Murder House because they are so different. I mean, such different feelings. Because Murder House is horror. It almost seems like it would have made more sense to bring together Murder House and Asylum, because they have kind of at least a similar sort of traditional horror feel.
Yes. Asylum has that too.
Whereas
Asylum was them still attempting to be movie style horror.
Right. And Coven is not that at all.
No.
But it's very solid. The one thing that American Horror Story has a tendency to do, and I'm bringing it up now, although they do it in a lot of other seasons, is the sort of extended ending. And I think where they try to explain more than they really should try to explain. And I think it starts to kind of make it less interesting, where it's like you could cut out like the last half of the last episode, or sometimes even the whole last episode.
It's one of the shittiest parts. I mean, in a sea of bad parts of the Halloween Rob Zombie remake is this unnecessary need to explain things. Just don't do it.
But it's really good, and it leads into Apocalypse, which is goofy, but I like it. But it is goofy. So my number 2 is Asylum. I think, again, I think Asylum is, we talked about Murder House versus Asylum because they're kind of the 2 early seasons where they tried to do horror, traditional horror, and I think they did horror better in Asylum. I think you feel uncomfortable all the time.
I think Asylum is, I know I rated it different. I think Asylum is better than Murder House as a season. I just cannot get past the end. I don't know that I could rewatch it.
Yeah, I mean, but again, that's it's so uncomfortable. It's always uncomfortable. And that's sort of what horror really tries to do. I mean, one of the best horror movies ever made is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not a bloody movie. When you rewatch it, it is not bloody at all. It's kind of amazing how unbloody it is, but it is always uncomfortable and disquieting. And you feel like, I mean, it's like sort of the low rent version of this is you see somebody that you just saw post on Facebook that they hate vaccines, and they come up to talk to you at the grocery store. And it's that feeling you get where you're like, God, I hope they don't talk to me. God, I hope they stop talking to me. I want this interaction to be over. And that's sort of like the low end. And this is like that turned up to a million, where you're just like, I want this situation to be over. This is weird. I hate this. Make this stop. And that's what good horror is. It's sort of you turning on, you're like, just stop. This is uncomfortable.
Yeah. Whatever. But relentlessly pushing the misogyny button seems cheap and easy. I don't know. It's my one downside to Asylum, but it's a big one. It kept it out of being number 1. Well, kept it out of being number 2 anyway.
I know, but it pulls off horror the way horror should be done. I think it feels disquieting. It feels uncomfortable. And at the same time, it has characters that feel real.
Yeah.
And it's one of Sarah Paulson's best characters. Like I already said, it's Jessica Lange's definitely her best character, because and that's not an insult to her other characters. This character is that good. Yeah. It's where first he's Zachary Quinto, who's good. No, he's in Murder House.
He's in the first season.
I forgot about that. Yeah, he's in Murder House. Cromwell is just a great actor and a good person too, which always helps. Yeah, it's good. It's creepy.
Apparently, last bit of trivia, Quinto would get out and play a banjo between really serious takes just to lighten the mood. Apparently, he's really good at playing the banjo.
Fair enough. You don't see enough Zachary Quinto anymore. They keep talking about doing another Star Trek movie in the Kelvin universe.
But why would he want it? I mean, maybe he wants to and really likes it, but I mean, he managed to break out of the heroes thing by becoming Spock, which is fine. But now he's just seen as Spock, and he doesn't really do a whole lot anymore.
Well, I'll tell you, and this is totally outside of the bounds of this discussion, but it needs to be said. Star Trek Beyond is a really good, fun Star Trek movie that got put after Star Trek Into Darkness, which is a really kind of dull sludge of a Star Trek movie. And so I think a lot of people didn't see Beyond, and you should, because Beyond is a lot of fun. It feels like a really fun episode of the original series, except, it cost $35 million to make. All right. So your numero uno. That is Hotel. Spanish for number one.
It is. It's Hotel. I remember the most about Hotel. I liked everything save for the serial killers. And Hotel isn't horror. It's got horror elements, but Hotel is really more a study of desperate, depressed, lonely people making it through and kind of finding strength in each other.
And Evan Peters just joyously murdering everyone he can get his hands on.
Right. But I mean, Kathy Bates' loss of her son, and Dennis O'Hare. I mean, Dennis O'Hare is just hiding out. He's transvestite, right? Cross dresser.
I think he's trans. I'm not. I mean, I don't know if they.
I never got a definitive impression on whether he enjoyed drag or if he was actually trans. I don't
know if they said that.
I don't know if
explicitly, but I mean, he's somebody who definitely didn't feel comfortable in the position he was in.
Yes, and both of them, they kind of come together as, like all this other stuff, Evan Peters and Lady Gaga is happening. And these two just kind of come together almost like a separate storyline. And it's really, really good. Lady Gaga is really, really good. This fight to save the hotel and all that is good. I like everything about it. And it made me go from not being much of a fan of Lady Gaga, probably because I never really gave her a shot. I was going through like a, back in my day BS generation thing, but it made me like
she was good. She was really good in A Star Is Born.
Well, and she was. That was the second thing that was like, okay, I really like Lady Gaga. But
well, I think she's kind of that ilk of the old style entertainer. The Simpsons always used to sort of fun on Johnny Carson, because it's like he's that old style of entertainer who can like play the piano and sing 25 different songs and dance and tell a joke and do all of those things maybe at the same time. Because that earlier age of Hollywood, where it's like, if you came into a studio and said you're an actor, they'd be like, and can you play the piano? Can you jump a motorcycle over some, flaming cars? Like, you're just an actor.
Well, and you've got record label making her do this, like, trying to make her into almost like a female Marilyn Manson or something. And it felt very fakey and put on and all that. And I think this one, though she still looks like Lady Gaga, I think this one really gave her a chance to shine as more of herself. And then, of course, A Star Is Born is
it's definitely the sexiest season. There's a lot of people doing sexy things to each other in this season.
Right.
And like, I don't think it's really even close. I don't think there's any season that even really gets close to it. Yeah. A lot of sexy times in that season.
It's really good. I even liked the aesthetic of the hotel, because it's in the lobby, it's very old school and very like 1930s kind of thing. And then up where Lady Gaga is, it becomes very like black and white and minimalistic, and I like the aesthetic. I like everything. God, I wish they would just cut out the stupid serial killer part. Still.
Yeah, I didn't love it either, but I think it's if you can find a reason to forgive it, the serial killers are so fucking campy, because that's the problem. In 1984, they are trying to make the Night Stalker like the cool guy. Like, he is throughout the thing.
Just isn't.
And oh my God, he's not. He's a horrible person. He didn't shower. He didn't like he was a gross person. You would not want to be in the same room as him for hygienic reasons alone. He was a really bad guy. But I think in Hotel, at least they sort of parodied them and made them look a little bit goofy, which, if I'm looking for a reason to excuse it, that's what I'll take.
Yeah. No, that one's pretty clearly my number one. I knew when I started rating them that would be the one.
Yeah, I love Coven. I can't argue with that. Or excuse me, I'm Freudian slipping. I loved Hotel. Coven is my number one. I thought that season was a blast. It's so dumb and fun and campy, and like Kathy Bates plays a racist head. I mean, what else do you need? It's like they come to Kathy Bates and be like, "You're going to be a racist head this season." What?
You're right.
But it's going to be great. Angela Bassett's really fun in it. I mean, it's got the only thing I didn't like was Papa Legba doing his Jamaican accent, which is the worst Jamaican accent that anyone has ever done. So we're just going to drive through Papa Legba's, and that actor, he's a really good guy. He's super progressive. I've seen a lot from him. He's actually the same guy that was in The Wire. He was the captain in The Wire.
Oh, okay.
Good actor. Just don't cast him as a Jamaican.
It was such a weird turn from Asylum too. I mean,
oh yeah, it's a sharp right.
Yeah,
it is nothing like Asylum. Which, as much as I like Asylum, which it's funny, you would think if you liked Asylum, you must hate Coven, or the other way around, because they are very, very different. I mean, maybe the two most different seasons, except for Apocalypse, which is kind of its own thing. But I kind of love both. I think they did horror right in Asylum. And I think the option with Coven would have been either do something like they did with Coven, which is kind of go camp and a little bit fun, or try to go darker than Asylum. But I don't think you want to go darker than Asylum.
No.
Because I think that's about as dark as you can get and still have something that's fun to watch. I mean, you could go darker, but it would be a very tough thing to watch.
And after Asylum, you kind of had to go for some more woman power thing as well.
Just something that people would look forward to watching.
Though, honestly, it's weird because Sarah Paulson in Asylum goes from being a strong character who makes it through a bunch of stuff to being a character in Coven who is supposedly strong, but then mostly just loses.
Yeah.
Till near the end.
But I mean, she perseveres.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
and
something.
She has a lot of horrible stuff happen to her.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I think it's just so much fun. I love all the characters. Um, I love oh god, of course I can't think of names right now. The one who's like the singer and like
Yeah,
popular.
Lily Rabbit. Yeah.
No, she was the Swamp Witch.
Yeah. Wasn't she
Uh,
singing too?
no, the one who was like the one who was a professional singer, actress, and like had the social media following
Oh
and all
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I want to say Emma Roberts, but I feel like that's definitely wrong.
And she thinks she's gonna be the coven head and
Yeah.
yeah.
I liked her character in there. I thought it's kind of cool to have like just a kind of a bitchy, self-important asshole, because like if there were witches, there would definitely be somebody like that. Because if they
Yeah.
have the power to like flip a bus over, who's not going to become an asshole? Um, and so I liked her character. I thought Sarah Paulson didn't have a lot to do, which I think is unfortunate. Um, but I like there's backstabbing and like people are like
Oh,
switching
all over the
sides and
place.
I don't know. I thought it was a really really entertaining season.
And Jessica Lange really good at playing this kind of teeter totter. Like, is she going to be better? Or is she going to be worse? Is she going to treat her daughter better? Is she going to be worse? And she
Spoiler
plays it
alert:
out.
she never is.
Right. Right.
She's not. Yeah, I don't know. By the way, Cheyenne Jackson was the guy who was the rich guy in Hotel, the one who bought the hotel.
Okay.
And he's good. We didn't talk about him very much, but it's funny, as the person who owns the hotel, he's like the least important character.
Right.
Yeah, they're all pretty good. I mean, the ones that get me, like I said, it's just the 1984s and Roanoke and Cult and Freak Show. Those 4 seasons, just like they were big slogs to get through. 1984 especially, because like Cult, as much as I have problems with it, I think there were good performances, and I think there was the beginnings of a good idea there. Freak Show, you had a lot of good actors in it. They were giving generally good performances. And Roanoke had Kathy Bates searching there a little bit. 1984 had fucking nothing. Oh, yeah.
I don't remember a single thing about it.
I remember a lot of pastel colors.
Yes, there was a lot of very bright pastel, which is a weird thing to do. Like, watch the old Bob Newhart show. You don't get vibrant out of real pastel colors.
I know, it's so fucking weird. And then the guy who played the son of the devil in Apocalypse came back in 1984 and was like just a regular guy. And it was really weird. Just like that shift in character, I thought was strange. I think he's a good actor, nothing against him, but it was a big shift. Yeah. I don't know. I just want to close out briefly to give Brandon and he's going to watch season 10 anyway, but I'm going to try and push him to watch something that he's going to watch anyway, just because I think it'll be interesting. So I watched the first 2 episodes of season 10 were posted. I watched them on Hulu. And I am excited. The last few seasons of American Horror Story, I think they've taken a bit of a quality dip. 2 seasons into season 10, and I think it could be a really good season. This is going to sound really strange to people that haven't watched this season yet. It is sort of like a combination of The Lost Boys and The Shining, which, putting those 2 movies side by side, is odd. But I think it works. It's got Robin Wiegert again from Deadwood, we talked about earlier. Yeah, it's good. Sarah Paulson's playing a fucking nutball character, and she's really good at that. Frances Conroy's playing a very rich, entitled asshole character who thinks that everybody is worth dirt, and she's good at that. And
I can say that.
It's just, I think there's a lot of fun. This season has Macaulay Culkin in it.
I saw that on one of the pages.
Based on the first 2 episodes, I think he's going to do pretty well. I think his character is not unlike his personal history to some degree. He has a reputation, especially when he's younger, of a bit of partying. Yeah. And I think that the character he's playing is I think he's doing it really well. He seems kind of to be playing the character in a very effortless kind of a way. Evan Peters is playing another snobby asshole along with Francis Conroy, which the first episode, not to spoil anything important or anything, but you have Francis Conroy and Evan Peters doing a duet on karaoke at a bar, which is very entertaining and kind of out of the blue. And you get a lot of horror elements. I mean, there's a lot of horror in there. So I am very, very hopeful this season will be very good. The first 2 episodes are both very good. They're doing this weird thing. I mean, they're calling it double feature, where the first half is taking place in this small New England resort community in the off season, and the other half is going to take place in Death Valley and Aliens, which I'm a little. I mean, I know we flirted with Aliens in Asylum, but I wasn't a big fan of us flirting with Aliens in Asylum. I think that was probably the weakest part of the season. What did you think about the Aliens in Asylum?
I don't remember that. I don't.
It was the last episode. It was the last episode.
Oh, where she's out at the farmhouse or whatever.
Yeah, and there's aliens. Well, no, they sort of teased it earlier, and that's why, like, Evan Peters was sent to the asylum because of aliens.
Oh,
They like attack his house or something. But again, like, that's the part of Asylum that you are the least interested in.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It just occurred to me that Macaulay Culkin should be in a Bret Easton Ellis movie.
That would certainly fit.
It really would.
Maybe you could bulk up like Patrick Bateman. He's about our age, isn't he?
Culkin?
Yeah.
He might be even a little older. Maybe not older. Trying to think of when I saw Home Alone.
He was born on. Oh, sorry, my thing is doing things. He's 1 year younger than me. He was born in 1980.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I think you'll probably enjoy him. There's the premise of the season is kind of derivative, but American Horror Story is kind of always a little bit derivative.
Yeah.
That's kind of it's almost kind of their brand. So yeah, I think it's gonna be good. Anyway, we've probably talked more about American Horror Story than people want to listen to, so we should probably
this
stop.
Might be our longest episode.
Yeah. If you want to hear more about American Horror Story, apparently we can talk about it for a long time.
Weirdly enough.
If you can think of anything about American Horror Story, there's some topics we haven't covered, which I'm sure it's 9 fucking seasons. So there's definitely things we haven't covered. Just put it in the comments below, and we'll try and address that. But I want to thank everybody for listening. Brandon, do you have anything to add to the good people aside from the fact that you're promising that you'll watch American Horror Story season 10?
Aside from that, thanks for spending 2 hours with us.
All right. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Like and subscribe, and have a good drink, and have a good day.